That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? There's a new film that just debuted at the Venice Film Festival called The Brutalist, which is getting rave reviews. Rave reviews. And who was the guy we were just talking about again who played Bill Riley? Coach Riley?
Brody.
Adrian Brody. Adrian Brody stars in it. And by the way, he's got an Oscar already. There are people out of Venice saying this is his best performance of his life. And it's getting rave reviews. We're not here to talk about that right now, though. Because the director of the film, Brady Corbet, he made this film 3.5 hours long. 215 minutes. So 3 hours and 25 minutes long. And, some people, understandably, that's a really long film, have brought up the question about the length. To which he says, you know what? It's silly to talk about length of a movie. It shouldn't matter the length of a movie. Well, we're going to talk about that. This is what they said over at Variety. Brady Corbet, who is premiering his 3.5-hour historical drama, The Brutalist, at the Venice Film Festival on Sunday, and again, it got rave reviews, is shrugging off discourse around the movie runtimes being too long. He said this film does everything that we are told that we're not allowed to do, the director said during The Brutalist's press conference. I think it's quite silly, actually, to have a conversation about runtime, because that's like criticizing a book for being 700 pages instead of 100 pages. By the way, that's an idiotic statement, and we'll talk about why in just a second. He continued that, for him, it's more about how much story there is to tell. I can agree with him on that. Maybe the next thing I'll make will be 45 minutes, and I should be allowed to do it. We should all be allowed to do that. The idea that we have to fit into a box is quite silly, he said. We should be past that. It's 2024. As Harmony Korine once said, cinema is stuck in the birth canal, and I agree with him, so we should help it out. All right. Again, first of all, I want to re-emphasize again, the reaction and response and reviews coming out for this movie are spectacular. Like in the best picture of the year race, kind of spectacular. I obviously have not seen the film yet myself, but from all accounts, it's a brilliant film. Also, you guys know my personal feelings on the runtime of a movie. There is no right and no wrong runtime for movies in general. Some movies, their best runtime is 90 minutes. 90 minutes for that movie would be perfect. So sometimes you get a movie that's like, I don't know, 105 minutes, which is a little over an hour and a half. That felt like it was too long. Like if it was like 10 minutes shorter, would have been much better. At the same time, there are 2.5-hour movies that fly by, or maybe we even felt could have been another 15, 20 minutes longer, right? Every movie has a runtime that is perfect for it. And there is no one size fits all. However, I think a couple of things that he said here need to be addressed. First of all, let me say, before we get to the whole book analogy, which was an idiotic comparison, but let me talk about this for a second. Going to a movie, I say this all the time. You guys know this. What are movies? They are experiential events. And whether you like it or not, runtime is often part of that experience. Because while we may joke around about Ray's inability to sit through a movie more than 90 minutes, the reality is Ray ain't alone. There are a lot of people who will choose to go or not go to a movie because they don't want to sit in a movie theater. When you count trailers, they don't want to sit in a movie theater for 4 hours. I personally can sit in a movie theater for however long if the movie's right. That's fine. But there are a lot of people in the movie-going general audience who will look at say, do I want to sit in a movie theater for 4 hours? No. And they won't go. Because movies are experiential events. And whether you like it or not, the runtime of your movie is part of the experience. Am I saying that means no movie should be over 3 hours? No, but I'm saying it's something you got to consider when making movies. And to say that, we should, I'm a director. I am the artist. Don't bother me with the concerns of the ants that they want to or don't want to sit in a movie theater for 4 hours. They should respect my artistic vision. Again, I'm not saying that a movie can't be 3 hours, 3.5 hours, but it should and must be. If you are a storyteller, then your audience has to at least be a part of your consideration. And maybe you've got a 3.5 hour movie and you're like, you know what? We did everything we could to make this as short as we can, but to properly tell our story, this is as short as we can make it. Totally fair. Totally fair. But to say that, oh, it's ridiculous that we even have conversations about it, what you're ultimately saying is that your audience is ridiculous. And you don't care what your audience thinks or feels, and you don't care about what the audience experience is. Now, I'm sure that is not what he is saying. I'm sure that's not what he is intending to say. All right. Let me be clear. I don't think this guy's a jackass and he's intentionally belittling the audience. And by the way, there's a hell of a lot of audience out there. If you say, hey, you want to go to a 3.5 hour movie? They'd probably go, unless it's a new Lord of the Rings film, probably not. Right. So it is not silly to talk about it. It is not silly to treat movies like experiential events and understanding that runtime is part of the experience for a lot of people. Not for everybody, but for a lot of people. But this comparison he made, which is absolutely ridiculous. Let's bring this up again. When he said, having a conversation about runtime, that's like criticizing a book for being 700 pages instead of 100 pages. That is an idiotic comparison. You know why? Because if you have a book, you can sit down and read 20 pages, put it down, go have dinner, call your mom, whatever, come back, read another 40 pages, go away, come back. You can take a day, a week, a month, or a year to read that book if you want. It doesn't matter how long the book is. You can spend as much time or as little time in as many chunks of time that you want. A movie is different, particularly theatrically. You're asking a moviegoer to go and sit their ass down for 3.5 hours. And again, there's a lot of people who don't want to do that. So the idea of comparing this to a book is asinine. It's completely asinine. And again, I do not believe for a second that Brady Corbet is trying to belittle his audience. Not at all. I don't think that's what's on his mind. I don't think disrespecting the audience is on his mind, nor do I think that is his intention. I'm just saying he should be careful about how he says things, because kind of it comes across that way, even though I believe that's not his intention.
You know, like I love short runtimes. Everyone knows that. But from an artistic point of view, from his perspective, I do understand if he's making something he cares and loves about and he's proud of, you want to fit as much of what you made into the whole thing. But that's when I think that's where extended cuts may come along. You know, like you gotta shorten the movie at least for the theaters and for the audience. Like, we can't be showing 4-hour movies like in every theater, like in every.
Well, that's just it. It limits the amount of theaters you can run it in and how many you can run at those theaters.
And plus, like when we watched the Book of Mormon, the play, they even had breaks. That was what, 3 and something hours?
Well, yeah, all stage plays will have intermissions. Yeah, 100%.
There should be some consideration for that. I mean, those seats can collect ass sweat like no other, especially if the air's not on.
Yeah, Brady, have you thought about ass sweat?
You don't want workers.
But again, it also speaks to the talent of the storyteller.
Yeah.
If you are a really talented storyteller, you should be able to tell your story with all of its important beats and all of its emotional overtones. You should be able to tell it in a reasonable amount of time. And listen, I 100% agree that there are going to be times and there are going to be stories where like a 3-hour plus runtime became necessary. All I'm saying to Brady is that don't say it's silly to even take runtime into consideration, because you're saying then essentially that it's silly to take your audience into consideration. And it is not silly to take the audience into consideration or silly to take their experience watching the movie into consideration. Again, if you did everything you could and the shortest you can make it to tell the effective story you want to tell is 3.5 hours, then that's the runtime of the movie. But this whole idea that, oh, it's silly to think about runtime. It's like complaining about the length of a book. That's a ridiculous argument and should be discarded immediately. You know when you discover a new binge-worthy show or a song that you bump on repeat and you have to share it with your friends so they can experience just how awesome it is? That's kind of what it feels like when you discover that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. It's such an awesome deal, there is no way you can keep it to yourself. My last mobile service provider was quite good, but ever since I switched to Mint Mobile, I've enjoyed even better coverage, better phone clarity, and I'm paying less than a third of what I paid to my old provider. Say goodbye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bills to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions may apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? In the midst of all this discussion, don't lose sight of the fact that this movie is getting brilliant reviews coming out of Venice, and I'm very excited to see it. I just think it's ridiculous to say that runtime shouldn't be a consideration, because like Jonathan pointed out, there's even practical considerations like how often can a theater even play your movie if it's over 3.5 hours. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.